And college students can't get enough of a drug used to treat ADD. Now on Greater Boston. Imagine a pill that melts away pounds, cures procrastination, and actually makes you feel more intelligent. 1 in 4 students across the country swear they found just that, a substance that gives users an academic edge with deadly risks. One such user flew all the way up from Georgia to tell us his story. 28-year-old Mike was a straight-laced high school student when a friend with ADHD offered him a prescription Adderall pill.
It does everything. It fixes everything at first. You know, you ace all your homework, you ace all your tests, you are outgoing in your social life, you know, and you feel great.
After a year of taking his friend's Adderall, Mike was able to convince his doctor that he too had ADD.
And it was not difficult. It was the easiest thing in the world to get a prescription.
Since 1995, Adderall has been a popular treatment for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And the stimulant is so effective that students without ADHD use it as a study aid.
My grades went from B's to straight A's. I graduated high school with a letter in academics, Dean's List in college, and while working at like a small software company, like pretty much full time.
The motivational and hunger curbing effects of drugs like Adderall make it very attractive to students. A recent study shows that 1 in 4 college students has taken Adderall in the past year. And that concerns BU pharmacology professor David Farb.
Kids are giving their friends Adderall in college. That's very well known. I don't think it's a secret to anybody except for some of us parents.
With 5% of college students diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, there is plenty of Adderall to go around.
The side effects of these drugs would be an accelerated heart rate, jitteriness, could be difficulty sleeping.
Some compare the edge students get from Adderall to the increased strength athletes receive if they take steroids. But BU's bioethics professor Leonard Glantz says ethically, they cannot be compared.
What Adderall does is it enables people for whom it works to concentrate better. It doesn't make them smarter, like steroids make you stronger or make you bigger. So Adderall doesn't add any IQ points.
While Glantz says he doesn't condone anyone taking an unprescribed drug, he believes legally using Adderall to provide an edge is not necessarily a bad thing.
The edge that one gets concerned about with Adderall is that it seems to be an artificial edge. But there are kids who get private tutors, there are kids who have access to podcasts, there are kids whose parents, taught them to read earlier. So it's a world of edges, and this is just one edge.
Meanwhile, after 6 years of using Adderall, Mike got tired of the edge.
It gives you kind of a superiority complex, it's just because you can do anything and you can work so hard and for so long. Everybody else, starts to look kind of lazy.
He quit cold turkey and developed a support group website, quittingadderall.com.
There was this whole other person that I needed to get back. And so I effectively, that's like I say, I sold my life to buy back my soul.
But for many college students, the need for speed is not slowing down. All right, and with me now is Dr. Edward Hallowell, a psychiatrist and specialist on ADD and Adderall use. Welcome, Ned.
Nice to be with you.
Where do you stand on this? I mean, is it a danger?
Well, people ask me, do you believe in Adderall? And I say it's not a religious principle. And often it's approached as if it were. When it's used properly, it's a wonderful medication. When it's used improperly, it's dangerous. You say that about penicillin or aspirin. In fact, aspirin's a very dangerous drug when used improperly. For some reason, Adderall has taken on this sort of special place, a hot-button medication where we talk about it far more in emotional terms than in scientific terms. The science is, in fact, very reassuring. If you take it properly, and that young man was not taking it properly, you're not selling yourself to get better grades. A much better analogy is you're getting eyeglasses to correct your vision so you can get the grades you deserve.
Okay, but he's saying that he obviously didn't really have ADD. He got a prescription.
Right.
But So does it affect the people who actually have ADD exactly the way it affects the people who don't?
No, and a good analogy is in fact aspirin. If a person who doesn't have a fever takes aspirin, their body temperature will come down just a little bit. If you have a fever and you take aspirin, your body temperature will come down a lot. Similarly with stimulant medication, if you don't have ADD and you take Adderall, you'll focus a little bit better. But if you do have ADD and you take Adderall, you'll focus a lot better. So it's a matter of how much of a change. And remember, people have been enhancing their focus, quote unquote, for thousands of years with coffee. You know, so the use of stimulant
didn't work.
Well, for some people it does, but you know, coffee is in many ways more toxic, has more side effects. It's a laxative, it's a diuretic, it can be cardiotoxic. When you stop it abruptly, you get a terrible withdrawal syndrome. So with all substances that you ingest, the key is to do it under proper supervision with full knowledge.
Okay, but obviously that's not what's happening on most college campuses.
Correct.
If 1 in 4
Correct.
kids are doing it. And I'm
Correct.
trying to get to the bottom line here. It doesn't sound like it's all that dangerous. Maybe not as dangerous as you say, aspirin or caffeine. And if they're only doing it, they call it, Ivy League crack. If they're only doing it around the time that they're having exams and really trying to study for something.
Yeah, I don't want to say it's not dangerous, because then I'd be seen as somebody who says, oh, hand it out willy-nilly. But as dangerous drugs go, it's not all that dangerous. I deplore its use off the street. I deplore its being sold in college libraries. It certainly is. But what doesn't get reported, and really ought to me is the much bigger story, which is how much good it can in fact do. The good news story, which is usually represented as a footnote, is that thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives are saved, not only of students, but of adults. Marriages are saved, careers are saved. I see it in my office in Sudbury every day. People in tears saying, why didn't someone tell me about this sooner? You know, I was struggling. I couldn't hold a job. I couldn't stay in a relationship. I couldn't stay in a conversation. And now I'm a different person, not in the sense of wired, but in the sense of I have eyeglasses. Now I can see. Now I can make use of the talents I've got. That's the really good news story that doesn't get reported nearly enough.
Kid Mike had kind of a funny line that's probably been used before. He says, well, and the story goes that when you're on drugs, you lose your house, you lose your family, you lose all your finances, you lose this, you lose that. He says the truth is you lose all that when you quit Adderall.
Mm-hmm. The side effects of not taking Adderall, if it is properly prescribed, are dire. You do plummet. I mean, untreated ADD is a scourge. The prisons are full of people with untreated ADD. So are the lines of the unemployment, the lines of the addicted. Traffic accidents, 8 times more common in people with ADD. Untreated, undiagnosed ADD is a scourge. It's a horrible problem. But treated, it's a phenomenal. I have ADD myself. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I often jokingly say people who don't have it have attention surplus disorder. You know, when it's treated, people with ADD tend to be creative, dynamic, entrepreneurial. They tend to be unbelievably able to think outside the box. The man who invented the electronic ticket, David Neilman, has ADD. And I always think it's somehow ironic that it's someone who with ADD who invents a way for us to go to the airport and not have to remember to bring our ticket. And plus our country is full, our gene pool is full of people with this trait.
Why is it so easy for a guy like Mike to convince a doctor? He says, oh, I was just, I got ADD, and just convinced him, and boom, he's got the drug.
And that's a major problem. I mean, properly done, you go and have a proper evaluation, which takes at least 45 minutes, if not longer, to do testing. You need to take a history. You need to look for whatever else might be going on. The symptoms of ADD can be caused by child abuse, for example, or they could be caused by watching too much television and not having enough family dinner. You need to take a thorough history to come up with the right diagnosis, but if it is the right diagnosis, proper treatment can change your life dramatically for the better.
All right, Ned Hallowell, thanks for that advice.
Thank you.
Right, that is it for Greater Boston. I'm Emily Rooney. Good night.